That winter came in mean. Like it had a personal beef with the mountains, snow stacked up fast, thick, and heavy. The kind that shut folks indoors and made even tough men rethink their plans. The wind howled nonstop, screaming through the pines like it was mad at the world and right in the middle of all that mess. She showed up. The young widow came trudging down the trail alone, boots soaked, cheeks red. Jaw locked tight, she didn't look scared, just tired in that bone-deep way that comes from carrying too much for too long. Folks in the valley had seen her before. Always quiet, always handling her business. Never asking for a damn thing. Ever since her husband died, she'd been running solo. Like leaning on anyone might crack her clean in half. That's when he spotted her. The mountain man stood near the trading post, tall as a damn pine tree, wrapped in a thick, weather-beaten coat that looked older than half the town beard iced over. Shoulders wide, eyes sharp but calm, he didn't talk much. Never needed to. People knew him by reputation, strong, steady. The kind of guy who could disappear into the mountains for weeks and come back like nothing touched him. He saw the way she shivered, just a little, like she hated that her body betrayed her, without thinking twice. He shrugged off his coat and held it out to her. "Take it," he said, voice low and rough. "Cold's got teeth tonight." She stopped walking, looked at the coat, then looked at him and said, "No," just like that. No smile, no thank you, no explanation. A clean, sharp no that cut through the wind louder than a gunshot. Folks nearby went quiet. You don't turn down help like that in the mountains. Not when winter's swinging hard, not when a man offers warmth with no strings attached. The mountain man blinked, surprised but not offended. "You'll freeze," he said. Plain and honest. "I've been colder," she shot back. "I'll manage." There was something in her eyes, fire mixed with hurt, that told him this wasn't about the coat. This was about pride, survival, control. About not owing anyone anything ever again. She stepped past him, snow crunching under her boots, shoulders straight even though the wind slapped her sideways. She didn't look back, but he did. He stood there holding that coat, watching her disappear into the storm, and felt something in his chest shift hard. Not pity, not attraction like he'd felt before. It was deeper than that, like seeing someone stand up to the cold and daring it to do its worst. That refusal hit him square in the heart. Known plenty of women, strong ones, soft ones, loud ones, but this woman, she carried herself like the world already took everything it wanted from her, and she still wasn't done standing. The town started whispering. Right away sawed she was stubborn, sawed she was broken, sawed she was cold as the snow she walked through, but the mountain man didn't buy it. He'd seen broken. People bend, they beg, they hide. She didn't. Walk straight into the storm with empty hands and her head high that night. As the wind kept beating the mountains raw, the mountain man sat alone by his fire, coat folded beside him. He kept seeing her face, kept hearing that no, not rude, not weak, just final. And that's when it hit him harder than any winter ever had. That woman wasn't someone you saved. She was someone you stood beside, and damn it, from that moment on, his heart didn't stand a chance. Asterisk. By the time winter really settled in, everyone in the valley had a story about the young widow. Most of them were half wrong and twice as loud, but that never stopped folks from running their mouths. Some said she was mean. Some said she was proud to a fault. Others swore she was still grieving so hard she didn't feel the cold no more. Truth was, nobody actually knew, because she didn't let anyone close enough to find out. She lived on the edge of the timberline, in a little cabin that leaned more than it stood. Straight roof patched up with whatever she could. Scavenged chimney always smoking, even on days when the wind tried to snatch the heat right out of it. Every morning before sunrise, she was out there breaking ice on the water barrel, hauling buckets like her back didn't scream at her to stop. She chopped her own wood, fixed her own door, and kept her head down like the world Owed her nothing, and she liked it that way, the cold. Tried her daily snowdrifts up to her knees. Fingers numb so bad she couldn't feel the axe handle nights so quiet. They felt loud, but she never complained, didn't ask for help. Didn't borrow sugar, tools, or sympathy, she just kept moving. Because stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant pain. Mountain Man noticed Olive Eve didn't hover, didn't crowd her space, that wasn't his style, but every now and then, things around her place would change. A stack of firewood would appear, clean cut and dry, like it fell from the sky. A loose hinge on her door would stop squeaking. A busted fence post would be standing straight again come morning. She knew who it was. She just never said anything. Pride ran thick in her veins. Accepting help felt too close to leaning, and leaning felt like losing. She'd already lost once, her husband buried under frozen ground. Promises cut short, love ripped away before it could grow old. She learned quick that depending on someone could wreck you if they didn't stick around, so she acted like she didn't see the help, like she didn't need it, like it didn't warm her chest just a little. Meanwhile, the mountain man kept his distance but not his eyes. He saw how she moved, efficient, sharp. Like every step mattered, saw the way she never wasted a thing, saw the way her shoulders stayed tense. Like she was braced for a hit that never came. He started timing his supply run so he'd pass by her cabin. Just in case, never knocked, never pushed. Just made sure she was breathing, surviving. Still standing. People in town laughed about it. Said he was going soft, said he was sweet on a woman who'd never give him the time of day. He didn't care. He wasn't chasing her for smiles or favors, hell. He wasn't chasing her at all. His heart was already walking behind her. Slow and quiet one afternoon, he caught her slipping on the ice. Just for a second, she steadied herself fast. But he saw it, saw how close she came to falling. Their eyes met across the frozen yard. She didn't thank him for watching, didn't wave, just nodded once, stiff and guarded, but that nod? That was something. It told him she knew he was there. Knew he cared. And maybe, just maybe, didn't hate it. Winter kept dragging on, cold as ever, but she didn't break. And neither did he. Because some folks aren't meant to be rescued. They're meant to be respected. And the mountain man? He was learning that loving a woman like her meant walking beside her, never in front, never behind until she decided otherwise. Up till now, most folks only saw the mountain man from a distance, big frame, thick beard, quiet as a locked church to the town. He was more myth than man, some wild thing that lived higher than the clouds and came down only when he had to. But the truth was, under all that fur and silence, he was carrying his own mess. Same as anyone else. She started noticing it in pieces one afternoon. She found him fixing the broken steps by the trading post, working slow. Like he wasn't in a rush to go anywhere. No one else was around. Just the two of them and the wind scraping over the snow. She didn't plan to stop. But something made her pause. "You ain't gotta do that," she said. Arms crossed tight, he shrugged. Steps don't fix themselves. That was his thing. Short answers, no fluff, no sales pitch, and for some reason, that felt safe. They ended up talking longer than either meant to nothing. Heavy at first. Weather, supplies, how winter felt longer this year. But when she glanced at his hands, scarred, cracked, knuckles bent the wrong way, it hit her this man hadn't lived soft. Life had swung at him plenty. And he'd swung right back. Someone in town mentioned his past later. Careless like, lost his folks young. Watched his family farm burn down in one bad season, fire and sickness back to back after that. He packed up what he could carry and headed uphill, figuring the mountains were quieter than grief. He didn't run from people. He just stopped needing them. She understood that more than she liked the next time they crossed paths. It was easier, still guarded, but easier. He offered help with a busted trap line. She didn't say yes right away. But she didn't say no either. That silence spoke louder than words. They worked side by side. No crowd, no noise, just iron clinking, breath fogging the air. He didn't rush her, didn't correct her unless she asked, let her do things her way, even when it took longer, and that mattered a lot at one point. She asked him why he stayed up in the mountains all year. Even when winter turned cruel, he thought about it, then said, "Ain't much up there that can disappoint you, storms don't lie." That hit her square in the chest. She started seeing him different after that, not just muscle and mystery, but a man who chose solitude because it hurt less than hope, a man who knew what it meant to lose everything and still wake up breathing. And he started seeing her different too, not just a stubborn widow with a sharp tongue, but a woman carrying grief like a second spine holding her upright. Even when it ached, he noticed how she paused before laughter, like she didn't trust it to stick, how she kept her back to walls, how she flinched at kindness more than cruelty. The cold kept pressing in, but something warm was building between them, slow, cautious, real, no big confessions, no dramatic moments, just shared silence and work done shoulder to shoulder. That's when the mountain man knew this wasn't a crush, wasn't curiosity, this was respect growing into something heavier, something dangerous, because falling for a woman like her meant risking the one thing he'd built for himself, peace, and damn it, he was already too far gone to turn back. Winter wasn't done playing rough, not even close. One night, the sky dropped so fast it felt like the mountains got swallowed whole. Snow came sideways, mean and thick, piling up like it wanted to bury everything breathing, the kind of storm that makes even old-timers mutter prayers they forgot. They knew she got caught in it, gone out before sundown to check a trapline. Figured she'd be back quick. Bad call. By the time she realized how ugly things were getting, the trail was gone, wiped clean like it never existed. Wind screamed in her ears. Snow stung her face raw. Every step got heavier, colder, slower. That's when she slipped hard. Her leg twisted wrong, pain flashing sharp enough to steal her breath. She bit down on it, refused to scream. Screaming didn't help nobody. She tried to stand, failed, tried again, worse. The cold crept in fast, sinking teeth deep. Meanwhile, the mountain man felt it in his gut before he saw it in the sky. Storms talked to him, always had, and this one was hollering trouble. He didn't wait, didn't second-guess, grabbed rope, lantern, extra blankets, and headed straight out like the storm owed him money. He found her half buried near a fallen pine, stubborn even then, trying to crawl forward like quitting wasn't an option. When she saw him, her jaw tightened. "I told you I don't need saving," she snapped, breath shaky. "Good," he said, already kneeling. "I ain't here to save you, I'm here to get you home." She hated how relieved she felt, hated it worse than the pain. The storm pinned them down hard. No way back to town, no chance of moving far. He hauled her into a shallow rock cut, built a windbreak fast, hands moving sure and steady. No panic, no drama, just action inside that tight space. With the storm raging like a wild thing outside, walls started cracking. She cursed the cold, cursed it herself, cursed the world for always testing her when she was already tired. He listened, didn't interrupt, didn't try to fix her feelings like broken tools. When the pain got bad, she squeezed her eyes shut, breathing rough. He held her steady, voice low. "Grounding. You're not weak," he said. "You're just hurt." That line hit harder than the storm. She snapped back anyway. "You don't know a damn thing about me." He looked at her, eyes steady. "I know what it looks like to keep standing when you should have quit." Silence fell heavy between them. Hours passed. Slow snow buried the entrance halfway. The cold kept trying to crawl in, but he blocked it with his body, took the worst of it without saying a word. She noticed, pretended she didn't. At some point, exhaustion won. Her head tipped against his shoulder. She froze, about to pull away, but he didn't move, didn't take advantage. Just stayed solid. That scared her more than falling, because danger she could fight, storm she could survive, but a man who stayed without asking anything back? That was unfamiliar ground. By morning, the storm finally broke. Sky cleared like nothing happened. Together, slow and careful, He got her back to her cabin before going inside. She stopped him. "You didn't have to do all that," she said. Voice quiet. "I know," he replied. That was it. No hero talk, no guilt trip, and right there, standing in the wreckage of the storm. She realized something terrifying. This man wasn't trying to control her, wasn't trying to own her. He just showed up when it mattered most, and that kind of trouble changes everything. The storm was gone, but it left a mess behind, snow piled high, branches snapped clean, silence hanging thick like it didn't know what to do with itself inside her cabin. The fire popped low, throwing shadows across the walls. She sat stiff on the edge of the bed, leg wrapped up, pride wrapped tighter. He stood near the door like he always did, ready to leave the second she told him to, only this time she didn't. "Sit," she said, voice rough, not a request, not a command, just a word she wasn't used to saying. He sat. That alone felt like crossing a line for her, letting someone stay, letting the quiet stretch without pushing it away. She stared at the floor for a long beat, jaw clenched like she was bracing for a hit. "You want to know why I said no to the coat?" She finally said. He didn't rush her, just nodded. "Because the last time I leaned on someone," she went on, "he never got back up." There it was, raw, ugly, real. She talked slow, like every word cost her something, about her husband, how he was strong and warm and promised her forever, like it was guaranteed, how sickness took him fast, winter stole the rest. And suddenly she was alone with a cabin full of memories and no damn idea how to breathe through it. "I learned real quick," she said, voice shaking but steady, "that needing someone don't make you strong. It makes you empty when they're gone." He listened, didn't interrupt, didn't try to soften it, just let her unload years of pain she'd been carrying like extra weight. When she finished, the silence came back, but different this time. Softer, less sharp. "That's why I didn't take the coat," she added. "If I start accepting help, I might start expecting it, and I ain't surviving that again." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "You think letting someone stand with you means you stop standing yourself?" She looked up, eyes wet but burning. "Don't it?" He shook his head slow. "No, means you're choosing not to be alone. That cracked something." She laughed once short. "Broken. You make it sound easy." "It ain't," he said. "That's why it matters." Studied him, then really studied him, the scars, the tired eyes, the way he never once treated her like glass or a problem to fix. "You stayed," she said quietly. "Didn't have to." "I know," he replied. "I wanted to." That word "wanted" hit different. No obligation, no pity, just choice. She exhaled, like she'd been holding her breath for years. Slowly, she reached out and rested her hand on his arm, not gripping, not clinging, just there. "I ain't asking you to save me," she said. He covered her hand gently. "Wouldn't insult you like that." The fire cracked louder, filling the space where fear used to sit. For the first time since her husband died, she didn't feel like surviving was her only option. Maybe living could fit back in there somewhere too. Outside, snow started sliding off the roof, melting quiet inside. Two people sat close, not fixed, not healed, just honest, and sometimes that's enough to start something real. Spring didn't show up all at once. It crept in slow, like it wasn't sure it was welcome yet. Snow hung on in the shadows, but the sun started hitting different, warmer, kinder. The mountains stopped growling every morning, and for the first time in a long while, the world felt like it was giving folks a second shot. She was back on her feet, moving careful but strong. The legs still ached some days, but she didn't let it run the show. Pride was still there, always would be, but it wasn't locked up so tight anymore now. When the mountain man showed up, she didn't pretend she didn't see him. He never pushed, never claimed space. That wasn't offered. He'd bring supplies when he had extras, fix what needed fixing, then sit on the steps with her, watching the snow melt off the ridges like time itself was finally letting go. They talked more now, not just about weather and work, but about things that mattered. He told her stories about the high trails, about nights spent under stars so bright. They felt close enough to grab about the family he lost. The life he walked away from because it hurt too damn much to stay. She listened, really listened. Didn't rush him, didn't try to patch him up, just let him speak. The way he'd led her one evening, as the creek started running again, she handed him his coat. "You should take this back." She said he looked at it, then at her. "You sure?" She nodded. "I don't need it anymore." That moment said more than 100 promises ever could. Town noticed the change before either of them did. Folks saw them walking together, still side by side. Still separate, but connected. The whispers shifted, less judgment, more curiosity. The widow wasn't so cold anymore. The mountain man wasn't so alone. He never asked her to leave her cabin, never asked her to follow him up the mountain. And she never asked him to stay forever. They understood something deep. Love ain't ownership, it's choice. Made daily when spring finally cracked the last of winter's grip. He stood at her fence one morning, pack slung over his shoulder. "I'm heading up for a bit," he said. "Gotta check the high lines?" Her chest tightened, but she didn't panic. Didn't beg, didn't shut down. "I'll be here." She said, "I know," he answered weeks past then one morning. She heard boots on the path strong familiar. She stepped outside, smiling before she realized she was. He came back like he said he would. They didn't rush into forever, didn't slap labels on what they had. They just kept choosing each other. Day by day, storm by storm, the coat that started it all hung on a peg by the door. Worn but solid, a reminder not of rescue, but of respect of two people who survived the cold on their own and found something better when they stopped pretending they had to winter. Took a lot from both of them, but in the end, it gave them a love tough enough to last long after the snow was gone. Asterisk.